You're getting old, Keith.
I really am. I should wear these when I drive.
You should.
I should.
You definitely should. You're. I mean, not that you're not a great driver, Keith.
I'm a terrible driver. Anyone who's ever drove with me knows I'm a terrible driver.
Don't say that, Keith. Yeah, it's a little terrifying.
Hey, how many times have you died?
Well, I thought you were going to say crash, because I was going to say more than 0.
How many times was it my fault? We got rear-ended going to see his hero.
Nathan Fielder. Oh. We spoke.
Yeah, you guys hung out. You got pictures? Show the pictures. Put the pictures up.
Yeah. We talked for like 25 minutes.
It was amazing.
Like a long time
I couldn't believe it. It was
on stage.
On stage. They took him up on stage. He's famous.
He's a big fan of mine. He was a big fan.
Yeah. You know who wasn't? The crowd.
Yeah, they turned on me real quick.
The crowd turned on him pretty quickly.
It's called improv, Keith. It's called being a good scene partner. I knew he was the hero, so I became the heel. I volunteered to do that. It's a thankless chore. It's a thankless chore being a great
What a
great
charitable, what a charitable gentleman.
I made Nathan Fielder. Just let me start here. Okay, no, we got to do our intro.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome. Do you want to do this one?
No, you're good at intros. I'm not good at anything.
Okay, great. I was hoping he'd say that. Welcome to another episode of The Chamber, brought to you by the Bluff Council. I'm Ev Duran.
I'm Keith Macri.
Keith Macri's here. We're talking about a film called Desperado.
Cool essay. Cool.
Desperado.
Desperado is a film I love very much. Very, very much. Had you seen it before?
Of course I have not seen it, no.
That's crazy. It's just wild to me. Like, I know we shouldn't be surprised at this point.
No,
but there's so many movies that like teenage boys in the early to mid 90s would have watched, even if they mainly only liked comedies. You weren't interested in like over-the-top action or naked Salma Hayek?
Well, we'll get to it.
That shit was going viral pre-internet. That was like pre-internet viral.
Yeah, for real.
It's like middle school viral where you're like, did you guys have you seen
Seriously,
Desperado?
that's what it was. I've never seen the film, but I definitely was aware of it and definitely had seen like parts of it. It was just in my awareness. You see that clip of them walking from the fire, the explosion, is a clip I've seen 1,000 times. It's an iconic moment in cinema, I would say. That shot I've seen so much.
That image, yeah, for sure.
That image. So, like, definitely aware of it. I just felt like I had no reason to see it. It wasn't something that, like, if I did see it, I was like, fine, I'll see it. But it just didn't come across my life. But very excited to watch it and have a reason to watch it. So,
yeah.
Where do you want to start? Or do you want
Let's
me
give
to just...
the briefest of backgrounds here on Desperado.
Yep.
Which I think was 1994, or was it 95?
I want to say 95.
Okay,
I think 95.
Let's edit that so I sound smart. The briefest of backgrounds here on Desperado.
Which was definitely made in 1995.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just say I'm a little disappointed. I love Desperado, and we're going to talk about it at some point, no matter what. But you guys, I offered up Tremors, and they chose Desperado.
And I chose Desperado, too. I was on the team Desperado.
Fuck you!
It's all right. Desperado, 1995, we think. Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek's first, I think it might be her first film. It's certainly her first major film. It's her star-making turn. Written and directed by the great Robert Rodriguez, and is the second part of his Mexico trilogy. El Mariachi was the first, which was I read a lot about, which is really, I don't think I've ever seen it. But it was a $7,000 budget that Robert Rodriguez self-funded by doing tests, like medical tests, experiments done on him. Yeah. And he made $7,000, and he made this film that went to Sundance and launched his career, which is amazing. So this is sort of a sequel to that, and then it goes on to play these characters again in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which was a very disappointing film that maybe we can talk about briefly, for me personally. But Desperado is just I loved it as a kid, loved it. It's like the zenith of like awesome sexy action. It is just Mexican sex on on screen. It's just oozing charisma and excitement and sexuality, and everything that Antonio Banderas does is just like fucking cool as shit. Every little movement he makes, I can't think of another character that, off the top of my head that does that. The chemistry between him and Salma is brilliant. There's all these visual iconic moments. It's great.
Mexican sex on screen should be on the poster. You should be.
Yeah. Even when they're not actually having sex, it's just sex.
Yeah.
They are. Antonio Banderas is like staring. I feel like, okay, stop, Antonio. There's people around. Like as I'm watching it, just the way he's looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Everything is shot so adoringly and amazingly. It made me really proud. Like this is like, I don't know. Like I'm take a shot. As a half Mexican boy, it made me super like proud. It's the first time I remember not being proud, but like seeing on screen, like and watching films with my young friends when we were 10 or 11 or 12, where it's like the hero is fucking Mexican, and it's all about like, it's so Mexican culture centric. It was just so cool. So I obviously really like this film. Keith, let me hear about it.
This film is trash. No. If any boy, any 13-year-old boy who comes across this film, there's an age range that I think if you came across this film at that time in your life, this is probably going to be one of your most favorite films. I would never be surprised if anybody said, oh, I love this film, or this is one of my favorite films. It's a great film. Because it's fun. It really is. It's a fun time. I think everything you said is really spot on. It's shot so adoringly. Antonio Banderas is great. He is great in this role. His performance is, I think, excellent. It's funny without being like, without dumbing anything down. Robert Rodriguez has a clear voice and a clear style. Love it or hate it, I like that in directing personally, like a little bit of a stamp, and that is clear. Romanticized is a great word that you use. It's very romantic, the film, not just in like principle, but the whole film is romanticized in a really nice way. I enjoyed a lot about the film. Do I have some nitpicks? Do I have some things I want to talk about? Of course. But overall, it's an enjoyable film. I wanted to say that first. It's a fun time. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's fun. It's just fun. Now, can I shit on it?
Yeah. Let's light in, and then we'll finish it up with more praise.
More praise.
Blind praise.
Okay.
I know what you're gonna say.
What are you? What am I gonna say? I have a few. Not many. Honestly, not many.
Okay. You're Mr. Story Guy, and this story is very simple, and I mean, to the point of almost being non-existent. It's just a revenge tale. It's a lot of style over substance. So I figured that would be what I expected to hear from you.
And you're not wrong. that is, yeah. Do you need me anymore for these? I don't need to be here.
I'm just trying to phase them out, guys.
I'm just like a cardboard cutout
if
of me.
If Keith was here, he would tell me this. And boy, is he stupid. Keith, my name's Keith. I think I need stories.
Yeah, so that's fine. Yeah. You're right. There's not much to it. There's literally, it's the thinnest of concepts. It's just, but one level, I guess one layer, maybe not even deeper, but one layer deeper is the hardest thing I had to sort of overcome from an audience standpoint, if I'm being unbiased, is the backstory. The lack of a backstory makes it even harder for me to buy in and to really get invested in his ultimate revenge tale.
Your man killed the woman I loved.
But you killed them, so what do you want from me?
Now, I understand that it's technically a sequel, so maybe you have to experience the first one, and that's really where you get all the backstory. I don't know the first one. I read a little bit about it. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And I know that they put in that half scene that they put in the beginning of the film where they show him getting shot in the hand and over the dead body of his fallen love. It's still not. It's not enough. It's not enough for me to really justify all of this blood and chaos. And, you know, if you're going to go that far extreme where he's going to murder everybody, which is fine, which is great, I love it, but he's going to murder 1,000 people, I really got to feel vindicated in why he's doing that. Otherwise, he's just a murderer to me, because I don't know why he's doing it. You know, I got to get on board with that. And there's really, that's just non-existent. It's 2 lines of dialogue, it's a half a second of a scene, and that's it. So that was my
You just
biggest...
only ever see his wife as like
dead.
This this corpse. I don't want to be superficial, but just like this kind of like bland looking woman wearing like mom jean denim shorts. It's just like laying there, like, and he looks upset. And I get that. A little more passion. See her
even
alive
a couple
for
little
scene or two.
flashbacks of them like kissing, them in love, their perfect life together. It's just something to give me, oh yeah, no, he's got to fuck these guys up.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest concern or complaint with the film. I have smaller ones. I have other things too to discuss, but
continue. I think that's valid. I think you'd like to see a little more from that. I guess it'd be maybe challenging to balance, or you just have to think about it more. Like you're trying to build up this great love that he had, and that's why he's avenging. But now he's also having really graphic sex with this bookseller.
My second biggest problem with the film is the end. The end.
I knew this is where we're going.
I was so disappointed that the movie kept going. They have such a beautiful end. It perfectly encapsulates this man, the aura, the presence, the machismo of this dangerous but beautiful man walking off into the sunset, saying, I think arguably one of the coolest walk-off lines in cinema that I can remember. Like, I love the line when he said it in the beginning.
Did I thank you?
No, you didn't.
Okay. I will.
And I loved it even more when he said it at the end.
Did I thank you?
No.
I will.
The end of the movie made me forget all the things I didn't like about it going through it, because I just thought it was perfect and badass, awesome. It gave me tingles all over my body, as only Antonio can. I loved it. Did I ever thank you? No, I will. And he leaves. She smiles. Go to credits. Go to fucking credits. How dare you come back from that scene and give me another 3 minutes of bullshit. There was no fucking point. There's no point. It made me very upset. How could you do that, Robert? You made a great film, one of the best endings, and you come back. I don't know why. It felt like a studio decision. Why would they do that?
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you, so I'll just try to play devil's advocate, but maybe it's like trying to subvert expectations to be like, well, actually, you are going to get a happy ending. Like, it's just like a little thing. Like, their love is great, but I agree. I agree. It'd be a lot cooler if I will. And then it's just totally open-ended. Because then maybe that does happen. You know, then it's up to you.
Course.
Maybe you imagine that she goes and finds him right after that.
1,000%.
Better.
The best part of the ending is her laughing. That's what makes it okay. That's all I need. That's all I need to know, like, she feels good about it. He feels good about it. Maybe they'll see each other again. Maybe they won't, but they appreciate the experience that they had together. Her smile is what completes that whole thing for me. It was great.
Totally.
I was so mad that they came back. So mad.
Yeah. I thought you were also going to say missing the final shootout.
Oh, I am. No, I'm not done.
Oh, is that next?
Yeah, what the fuck? Well, how do you, he shoots him, he does the thing, and then how does he come back from that? How is he and that girl not dead?
Did you read about it at all?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I just learned this, and now I'm like on a mission to find it. Apparently, they shot this brilliant final shootout scene, where it's just him and her shooting everybody and winning, and it was so gory that it was rated NC-17, and the MPAA had so many cuts to that scene that Rodriguez thought it was unincludable.
Yeah.
So he had to make a decision to be like, it's going to be like an artistic decision to just cut it and fade to black.
Yeah, and you just assume he gets away.
Yeah. which is crazy. It's weird. It's weird. And even as a kid, I was like, oh, that's weird. But like, you think like, oh, okay, this is art. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, like this is a choice. But it makes me sad now to know that it's not a choice. If it was a choice, I might be like, oh yeah, you can kind of debate the merits of whether or not you think that was a right decision. I think there's probably pros and cons to both if you wanted to try and sell it. But to know that it was like almost not a choice makes me really sad. And so now I want to Google around and try and find the deleted scene of that where blood is just fucking exploding like rivers everywhere.
Yeah, if I'm Robert Rodriguez, I would have put that out already. I would have had my cut, and as soon as the internet came on and was like, this is the stuff the internet's made for, it'd be out there.
Yeah.
It would be out there everywhere. I'd be like, this is my vision. But that makes me feel better in terms of why it's not in the film. It's not the film, like, there's forces, I understand making films, there's forces that are bigger than the film itself, and sometimes you have to make those concessions. And so it makes me feel better about it being actually in the film.
Anything else? Oh, I'm ready to just keep slaying your complaints.
Less now getting to less, more nitpicky. But actually this one's not. This one's I feel pretty strongly about too. Bucho? Bucho is bad. Bucho is bad at acting. Bucho's not a good.
I don't think he's bad.
He's bad. He is. His portrayal, I don't want to say his performance, but his portrayal is almost just like a stereotype, cliche. It feels unearned and inauthentic. He whether he's directed that way or his performance or both, whatever it is, whatever is on screen, no bueno. No bueno for Keith.
No.
Daddy do not like. He brings down the film because if your main antagonist does not pose a real threat to me as a viewer, then my antagonist can only do so much. And
that's fair.
And so he brings down the film to me because of his lack of credibility, being a tough guy, bad guy. His actions.
That I can see. Less hateful for me on his performance itself, but more just maybe on that, like, the casting, that it would have been better to have somebody that was a little more intimidating, like if like Danny Trejo, for example.
Correct.
Like that guy's scary as fuck in this movie. It's amazing.
Yes, this like businessman type bad guy is that character shouldn't. I don't know. Just felt like
that can work, but you have to also see him, being a threat. Like maybe he should have jumped in the ring and fought somebody and knocked him out. Like just to see that, he's also has this really dark, crazy side, takes off his jacket and he's all tattooed up, like.
Or a huge scar, sure. If you want to go physical, absolutely. But even like, then make him a mastermind of some sort. Make him what is his edge? What is his advantage? Why is he in the position that he's in? He is token bad guy. And performs subparly at that. So it just diminishes when your protagonist, when Antonio Banderas is at 100.
Yeah, totally. No, that's a great point too.
He is perfect for this role. His performance is a 10 out of 10. Like, it's great. And you pair that with not so
totally. That's right. And then that makes me all the more sad to have read just recently about the intended original actor who was supposed to play that role of Bucho, who was Raul Julia.
I shall not submit. I shall conquer. I shall rise. My name is Gomez Adams, and I have seen evil.
And who passed away right before production started on this film.
Yeah.
And that, my heart yearns for
he
what
would have
that would have been. Because then you have two guys.
Yeah.
Like Raul Julia can command a screen.
Yeah. I would have. Now I'm sad too. You're right.
Yeah. That would have been pretty amazing.
Last one. It's nitpicky. I'll be upfront about it, but it has to be said. The pose that the guy shooting the rocket launcher guitar does when he shoots the rocket launcher is ridiculous. This ballerina, this move, and he just squats.
You gotta do a little stretch, Keith. It's great.
You can't see it, but it's
What do you want him to do? Drop to his knees?
Just shoot it. There's literally makes no sense. It's
great.
distracting. It's distracting.
You get to show off your legs, your jeans, your boots. It's the way to do it.
You could, this squat thrust that he does, it is absurd.
Oh, I always loved it.
I can imagine. I can imagine you loving it. It's
You're
so
incorrect.
It's so performative. It's so performative for
Have you
no
seen
reason.
The film? The whole film is performative. Antonio Banderas can't wipe his brow without being like, ugh. And
But that's
pulling a
okay.
gun out from
'cause
behind
That's
his
okay because
shoulder.
he's a beautiful man, and he has
He's a
stolen
beautiful
my
man.
soul at that moment, so it's fine.
Yeah. You can do no wrong.
He's gold. That guy's gold. I'll do whatever he says.
In a film that has like beautiful, angelic, pristine, naked Salma Hayek, Antonio Banderas somehow.
yeah.
Somehow.
She is too.
the
She's
sexiest
too.
part of this movie.
She's too.
It's
A close.
It's an
she's
incredible
a
accomplishment.
A close second. Very close. But goddamn.
All right, let's talk about Salma.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Is Salma Hayek proof that God exists? I say yes. I say yes. But I don't know where you land on that subject matter.
The way that Benjamin Franklin talks about beer, I think that's quote is attributed to him. Like beer is proof that God exists and wants us to be happy. It's Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek is.
You can't say enough about Salma Hayek.
Salma Hayek in this film is just one of the most beautiful shining lights in cinema history. Like she's just radiant and gorgeous, and you can see how it makes her a star. And and all of that like superficiality aside, very talented performer and charismatic. Holds her own, like we're saying, with Antonio, who is dialed up to 15 in terms of charm and charisma and attraction. And the dynamicism between them, it's you can cut it with a knife. It travels through the television and chokes you.
I'd prefer to lick it.
She is just, and she's just so wonderful. And I remember, like from the time I saw this film again, like being like just being like, wow, like I almost equally as proud to be like, look at this Mexican hero, and also like we have the hottest women, like like we win. Mexicans stay winning during this film. Yeah, she's phenomenal.
She's great.
That I was sad to read. Like, there's not like anything dark or nefarious that I can tell, but she was really uncomfortable shooting that famous sex scene. Broke down into tears at least once or twice, which is sad.
She went on to say that one of the things she was afraid of was Banderas, but she clarified.
He was an absolute gentleman and super nice, and we're still very close friends, but he was very free.
Right.
So it scared me that for him it was like nothing.
I think it's a body double. When I was watching it, I think that's a body double. That's her the whole time?
Yeah.
Like she may have been uncomfortable.
I can't.
For parts of it. It's clearly her for parts of it. But then I thought at some points, I'm like, I think that's someone else.
No, to my knowledge, it's her. I can't guarantee that.
Okay.
But you're not talking me out of this, Keith.
No. I'll go frame by frame. I'll inspect it.
Okay. All right. We're dissecting this. Come over to our Patreon. Well, we're really gonna break this down. and right here. No, because I guess it was just a lot. It's a lot to if you've never done a naked scene before. I'm sure.
Of course.
To be like, yo, we're doing a softcore porno shoot.
It's softcore, but I think it's edited pretty elegantly, and it's shot pretty elegantly to sort of cover up. I think that softens that scene. I think in today's world, that's just a shot of two people fucking. But then it could have been much worse, I guess, is my point. I think it's respectfully and tastefully done in a way that's not.
And she says that it was like that during production too. It was just a lot. It was overwhelming. And then I think in at least one showing or two, she walked out during that period and took her family with her.
I kept thinking of my father and my brother.
Yes.
And are they gonna see it?
I want to talk about, we talk about sex scenes like in Before the Devil Knows You're Dead and some other things. But I want to talk about how I think this film, the sex scene does not make this film great, but I think this film might not be great without the sex scene. Because I think it really because we're talking about how charged up this film is with sexuality from beginning to end. Like there needs to be some level of that there. I think it really does serve a purpose here, and it's not just to be titillating and sex scene for the sake of sex scenes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and that's sort of what I was referencing too with the shooting and the editing of it. I think it's purposeful. That's all I want from any of my films, no matter what extreme you go to, gore, violence, sex, drugs, like doesn't matter, as long as if it's purposeful. If it serves a purpose to the story and treated as such in terms of how it's presented, then that's all I can ask from a film. I can't be upset at the subject matter just because it makes me uncomfortable if it's purposeful and done respectfully some level within the directing. Like it's important, and this film does that. So and you're right, this should have a sex scene. It should.
Yeah.
And a
should
nice
have a couple
little
more.
It should only be sex scenes, now that I think about it.
Well, the fuck we wasted all the time with all this gunplay for.
And I think a nice little touch too in terms of I think you can see the purpose in the sex scene, just to add a little bit more to it. I think you can see the purpose within the sex scene that Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek have with the juxtaposition of the scene right next to it, which is also a sex scene that is vulgar and more aggressive and full of disdain. You know, it's just that juxtaposition really gives insight into these characters, to motivations, to passion, to love. It's all of it is wrapped in there, and I think that really helps in terms of being purposeful within the film.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah.
We did it.
Sometimes I do good. Keith do good sometimes.
Talking about sex. Keith really found his way talking about that Desperado sex scene. Really hit his stride.
As I really came into my own. You're welcome, America.
That's all he needed. There's so much to respect in this film, I think, from a creative standpoint, beyond the performances. But with the Robert Rodriguez being like really a jack of all trades, which I love as someone who likes to pride myself as that in terms of production, writing, directing, often shooting, editing, setting up lights. You know, like he's everything. He's just running around doing that stuff. And this film's budget, I believe, was $7 million, which, you know, would be great. I'd love to have $7 million to make a film, but it's still kind of a low budget, especially for a large action film like this.
Yeah. $7 million is
reading
nothing.
about like the creative ways they worked through that is pretty awesome. Like one such little note is I was reading that there was only 2 stunt people used in the whole film. All these dead bodies, all these bodies flying everywhere, and just they could only afford 2 stunt guys who just changed clothes in between and ran and did another jump. Okay, change clothes, get new blood, run and do another jump. I thought that was pretty wild, and I like to imagine, you know, the ways you have to get creative when you're cutting down.
Yeah, 100%. The Robert Rodriguez is interesting. Has always been interesting to me. I was lucky enough and sure enough by accident. I didn't know it was going to happen. I was at a conference in New York 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, and he was a speaker. I didn't know he was going to be there, so I got to hear a little from him, a little bit about his humble beginnings and you were talking about that first film for, what was it, $7,000 or something? Some unique, you know, just of his own money, selling, you know, blood and semen, as we all do. And he made, in listening to him talk, he made your biggest dreams feel possible. Just the way that he spoke, and to see the success that he's had in a range of different films. He's done kids films. He's done Desperado. Yeah. You know, so he's inspirational. Not like I'm not the hugest Robert Rodriguez fan by any means, but I love to hear success stories like that, and to literally have him say it while I'm present, not to me, obviously, but while I'm present, it was awesome to just, his whole thing was like, just do it. And I know that doesn't sound like that revelatory or whatever, but he's saying, if you have access to a home and a dog, well, guess what's in your film? A home and a dog. I can remember him saying, like, what do you have access to? What do you have around? What can you use? How can you be creative with no money? And just challenging people to think about that stuff. It's impressive. It leaves an impact on you when it's someone that, you know, talented and successful telling you that sort of stuff. So I'll always remember him for that.
This conversation is going to depress me greatly now, because we talk about this all the time, and I think about it all the time. Is like, we have so much more than we would need to make a film. You know what I mean? Just like between you and I personally,
Yeah.
it's like people that have cell phones now have more than they need to make like a film if you make it good and you are technically advanced, and we have all this shit and we're just like, well, I need fucking $5 million. It's like, no, just take 10 grand and go make a simple film in the woods that's clean and beautiful and dope.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we're missing is talent.
Oh, that's fair.
I think
it's a fair point.
If we're one thing short.
If you guys know anybody who's a good writer or director or performer, you put them in touch with us.
Yeah, and then nonstop money.
Yeah, wow, rolling in it. Were you surprised and/or happy to see Steve Buscemi and/or Quentin Tarantino show up, or did you know they were in it?
I did not know they were in it. I love Steve Buscemi. I just think he's great. Generally speaking, he's great.
He does great in this movie too. Like especially,
yeah.
He's really good.
He's great. The Tarantino is funny when Tarantino showed up because it felt like it had Tarantino vibes. I don't want to say it felt like a Tarantino movie specifically, but I remember watching the first, because he shows up midway through the film, right? First act, the end of the first act, maybe?
Yeah.
But so for that first 15, 20 minutes or whatever, I was like, I forgot for a second. I was like, is this a Tarantino?
Yeah.
Kind of just gave that vibe. And then he shows up, and I was like, oh wow, he's in it. And then I remember, I was like, oh yeah, he was in From Dusk Till Dawn. Like he acted for a little bit. Like he's been in stuff
they're like
before.
good. They're like good buddies, and they have very similar taste.
Yeah. So it was just interesting. Did he have say in the film? Did he?
No, I think he's just acting. He's just acting in a movie.
Oh, he just came and hung out.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I think that they've overlapped a lot. Where because From Dusk Till Dawn is a Rodriguez film as well. So Tarantino would show up to be in some of his movies. I think Tarantino guest directed a scene or two for Sin City, just things like that. And then they obviously did the Grindhouse double feature together where they each directed a film. So they have a lot of overlap. I love Tarantino in this movie. I think it's so funny, and I remember thinking it was so cool and weird as a kid that he showed up because he, in 95, 96, he's coming off of Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction.
He's a big deal.
Like, even if I hadn't seen those movies before I saw this, you would just, as a fan of Hollywood, as a fan of film culture, you just know oh, this is that guy that everybody's talking about. Like, this is the new guy.
Yeah.
And now he's just being goofy and funny in this fun film.
That's some funny shit, huh?
Where he says, it's cool, essay, it's cool.
Yeah.
I
When he
say
says
that all the time.
essay, it's cool.
It's cool, I say. Cool.
Were you cool with sort of the over the top nature of the action sequences? Because it's obviously not set in reality in terms of that. Like, there's a lot of very, self-aware, over the top craziness.
Yeah. Yes, I was, because I do think it, from the onset of the film, I think it sticks to your point about what Wet Hot American Summer and my criticism of a lot of films. It sticks within the universe it builds for itself in the first act. So nothing is out of place. I'm fine with any type of boundaries or rules in the film. It could be anything, but they just have to stick to them. All in the third act, something can't change drastically if I'm going to take this film seriously from a film standpoint. Can't just be like, well, now bullets don't mean anything. Like, you can't do that.
Can fly now.
Yeah, you can't Wonder Woman 1984 me and me be like, yep, good film. Can't do it.
Yeah.
So this film from the beginning, right from that thing where he comes with the guitar and he slaps him, that's silly a little bit, but the whole film is kind of like that. There's these weird little pockets of kind of real, but not really. So I'm fine with it because it sticks throughout.
I love that sequence. I love that opening sequence because it's so cool and it's musical, and when he jumps up on the bar and that whole back that light.
It's a cool set.
Super cool. There's so much cool there's so many iconic cool visuals I feel like in this movie, and that's one of them. I love Antonio's energy as he again, everything he's doing is the most cool, where he's he steps aside of the chandelier over the bar. And he makes a face like it's such a stress, it's it's like, oh shit, okay. I love when he's walking. Danny Trejo is so intimidating. And when he opens up his vest, he's got all those knives. That's an iconic image to me. And just that he's when he takes out that car of guys with the knives is incredible. And I love when Antonio's walking on the wall, following the boy.
Oh, that's one of the best shots of the film.
Dragging blood.
That's one of the best shots of the film.
really cool stuff. Really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. That shot should be equally as iconic as that explosion one. I really did love that shot. I really love that shot.
Breaks the guy's neck on the ground and goes, "Fuck you!" And he's like back on his knees and his fucking hair's hanging out. I always wanted my hair like that. That was like the main takeaway from this film. I've always wanted long hair. It's just like, it's sweaty and got blood all over him. This is, god damn, let's remake it. Let's remake Desperado. We'll put me in it.
Do I get to do
Salma
something?
Hayek can come back.
It is time.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this wonderful episode of The Chamber, brought to you by the Bluff Council.
We need like a sound effect, I feel like a not a dying goat.